Hi everyone, this is Kyrmyzy. I am the student of zero-year program at Nazarbayev University. Now I am going to share with my experiences and give some reflection on webinars that I have participated in semester 1. We are given the task to participate 4 events in this semester and 4 events in the next semester. So the webinars should be academic in nature, conducted in English, and the specialist speakers are the specialists on their fields, should be. So I have followed our corporate email and the mails on the inbox. So I have found the webinars from several schools are suitable to the ICT 7 guidelines. So 3 of them are from our Nazarbayev University event. 1 of them are from non-Nazarbayev University event, but this is also a webinar which is conducted by mining field specialists. As far as my future job is related to the mining engineering, so I have found it very useful for me. And 3 other events are related to the COVID-19 situation, which is holding whole year. So now I am starting to introduce you the general information of the events first, then I'll give the general reflection on it, then I give some own personal opinions on the webinars. So the first one is the GSPP webinar by visiting Professor James Crabtree. The webinar's title is Everyone Must Wear a Mask, Social Media, Fake News and the Public Communications Lesson from COVID-19. So the webinar was held on November 16, which is held November 16 on Monday at 7 p.m. and the language of the webinar is English with simultaneous Russian translation. And moderator of the webinar is Professor Ricardo Pilizzo, GSPP Vice Dean for Research, and the format of the webinar is online Zoom meeting. The general information about the speaker is James Crabtree is a Singapore-based author and a journalist who has written for a range of global publications, including the New York Times and Economist and Wired foreign policy newspapers, and he has a best-selling book, The Billionaire Raj Journey Through India's New Gilt Age. So he was worked in the various publications, spent a number of years living in America, in London. So he is the scholarship holder of Fulbright Scholar at Harvard's Kennedy School of Government. So he was talking about the public communications and the fake news, social media features that everyone should wear a mask at this pandemic time. Some lessons that we have taken from COVID-19, and the second event is also conducted by our professors, new professors. The event's title is COVID-19, the Past, the Present and the Future. Department of the History, Philosophy and the Religious Studies. So the webinar was held November 13 on Friday 4 p.m. English language was English, and the speaker there were three speakers. Nancy Stitt, he is a nursing professional development specialist, program director, and the Department of Nursing Education at Nazarbayev University School of Medicine. Speaker 2 is Brian Crape, PhD, Program Director, Master of Public Health at Nazarbayev University School of Medicine. Speaker 3 is Antonio Saria Santamera. She is also Associated Professor at Nazarbayev University School of Medicine. The format of the webinar was online Zoom meeting. The third event is also sounds like COVID-19, social consequences and the cultural adaptations. This is from sociology and the anthropology department. Language was English, and the webinar was held on November 11 at 10 o'clock. So they were six speakers, but it was very organized webinar that all the speakers had their time limits, 10-15 minutes, and the last three speakers were very quick by 5 minutes. So this first speaker is Michael Ryan or Michel Ryan. He is talking about social justice and the COVID-19 pandemic. Speaker 2, Deborah Cohen. He is talking about rethinking what we value, pandemic teaching and the art letting go. Though he was talking about the very interesting things about art and about the things that have stopped in the pandemic time. So the speaker 3 is Jodia D. Way. The solution is the problem. What a pandemic can reveal about policing. So he was also telling about the pandemic a lot, about the consequences and the cultural adaptations, how people adapted to be in lockdown, to be in quarantine every time. And the speaker 4, they have divided the webinar 4 parts, and the speakers of the part 4 is Dinur Bulum, Stacey Smith, and Adam Sanford. They are talking about the toxic Wild West syndrome. This is another disease that has a lot of impact to the human health, such as COVID-19, and the individual rights versus community needs. So they are talking about the very interesting things, because this was the first event that I have participated. The format was online Zoom meeting. So the three of them was hold the professors and the speakers there at home. They were sitting and giving a speech on online format. So that was like kind of boring things during the webinar. But I think the most useful was the second event, which is COVID-19, the past, the present, and the future. The speaker, Nancy Stitt, this is the professional development specialist in his School of Medicine. So she was talking about the Spain, the history of the pandemic time. So the first pandemic situation was held in the Spain, where the people died. They died hundreds and thousands and hundreds of people died at the same time. So the term of pandemic came from the Spain kind of Spain situation. Oh, I have just forgot. So all three webinars had their panel discussion after they giving their speech. All the speakers was ready to answer the questions on Q&A session. So all the webinars was held 1.5 an hour. This is very long to have an online version of the webinar, because kind of boring things. You are sitting and watching how the people are telling something that is not related to your speciality. So okay, this is okay. Next semester I'll take part on my specialist field. So I think this is the good experience that I had in the first semester. So the last event was the YouTube channels webinar, which is held by Department for Trade and Investment, helps industry, business and the communities identify. No, this is that's all. There were also four speakers and one host. The host is Andrew McCullough. So the last event is held on YouTube channel, and this is the Australian Institute of Machine Learning, South Australia, and they are talking about the frontier in mineral exploration. Frontier, you know what is frontier? I'm sure that you don't know. Frontier is the boundaries that states have identified to their entrepreneurs and the companies, industries, to like the law, which is controlled and lack on something. So they are discussing about the mineral exploration in South Australia and the undergoing boom in machine learning that promises to change the investment landscapes, to bring forward prices to the mineral discoveries, to the entrepreneurs and the companies. But the state has also curated a vast treasure trove on open file quality, geological information, learning the world's innovations, to use the tools of data science to explore new ideas and new data that were previously beyond on imagination. So you know the 3D, three-dimensional, and the two-dimensional, geological software that for example, we take the ore. So now I'm telling about my specialty. For example, we take the ore, like this is the ore. The content of the ore is gold and the copper. Contained the 1 ton ore, gold and the copper contained. So if we use those kind of softwares to find the ore and or useful metal, where where is the useful metal are located in the ore body. So the software can solve your problem, uh, how to process this kind of ore, how to explore how to conduct those useful metals from this raw material. So I think this was for me very useful because they are the specialists of their field, and they have in this webinar a lot of specialist vocabulary are used, and I think kind of general public cannot understand the whole context of the webinar. Speakers of the webinar is Holly Bridwater, industrial leader and director in advanced releasing and learning, and the professor Javan Kuifring Shi. He is Chinese because the face expressions and the appearance is immediately shown that he's an Asian person, and the name of the professor is Shi. Surname of the professor is Shi, and we know easily know that he is from China. So so let's talk about the overall reflection on four events. The participants were muted all time. Only they allowed to say or to give their reflection on the webinar at the end, that Q&A part of the event. So I was just I have asked one question from three webinars that Nazarbayev University conducted, which is all three webinars are related to the COVID-19. That is why I chose it. I have chosen the question like, do you think the COVID-19 can stop the process of globalization? So all the participants and all the speakers were really surprised from my question, and one by one they have given their opinions, and of course their point of views are the same as mine. So this is unstoppable process that globalization cannot, human cannot stop the globalization. So in order to say about the reflections, I can make better in the next semester the webinars for myself, like not about the from medicine school, from my school would be very useful for me, would be very interesting, because watching the webinar on muted version, it's very boring, because you are interested on other things, like my phone is here, my laptop is here, and my siblings are there. So I think the personal interest is the best one, is the very interesting one. So I would recommend those kind of webinars to the medical school students and the medical stakeholders and the policy makers, that they are talking about something like policy, something like medicine. Government should do like this, should make all the circumstances very easy for public. I think this is kind of time killing, I don't know what to do with COVID-19. So that is why to make those kind of discussions maybe make better our global thinking, maybe make better, but I don't know yet. So the speakers were really impassioned, interested on personalities and on focused on the panel discussion. There were two webinar, one round table and one panel discussion. So all the speakers were very polite with the participants and speak very loud and very calm, kind of good things. This is very great pleasure to get to with speakers online in the online format, and this was very comfortable before to complete the task before the deadline. That's because the webinar is very long, so we can complete the task throughout the semester. So that is the very advantages, the very most advantages of the ICT 7.